Have you ever had a toy that seemed alive? I don't mean like those animatronic dolls that blink and talk. I mean a toy that had a mind of its own. A will. A history. Well, I did. And this is its story. It all started last October, a few weeks before Halloween. I'm a huge fan of vintage toys, so I spend a lot of my weekends hunting through flea markets and antique shops. On this particular Saturday, I found myself in a dusty corner of a sprawling market, at a stall overflowing with old, forgotten treasures. Tucked away behind a stack of faded board games was a small, red toy car. It was a metal die-cast model, probably from the 1970s. The paint was chipped in places, revealing the silver metal underneath, and one of the tiny plastic headlights was missing. It had this certain charm, a sense of having been well-loved and part of many childhood adventures. The old man running the stall only wanted $1 for it. Sold. I took it home and placed it on my office shelf, right next to a collection of vintage robots and action figures. It looked perfect there, a little pop of color among the chrome and plastic. For the first few days, nothing was out of the ordinary. It was just a cool little car. Then, the weirdness began. It was subtle at first. I'd leave my office for a few minutes and come back to find the car in a slightly different position. I'd put it on the left side of the shelf, and when I returned, it would be in the middle. I brushed it off. Maybe I was just misremembering where I put it, or maybe vibrations from the street outside were making it move. My old house shakes whenever a heavy truck rumbles by. It was a logical explanation. At least, that's what I told myself. But then it happened again. And again. I started getting a little paranoid, so I decided to run a small experiment. I took a photo of the shelf with my phone, making sure the car's position was perfectly documented. I left the room for an hour, and when I came back, it had moved it, not bialloed just a few inches to the right, as if it had rolled on its own. I checked the photo. I wasn't crazy. The car had definitely moved. My heart started pounding. There was no rational explanation for this. The shelf was perfectly level. There were no drafts in the room. The house hadn't been shaking. I tried to reason with myself. Maybe there was a tiny, imperceptible slope on the shelf that I couldn't see. So, I took a small piece of blue tack and stuck it under one of the wheels to keep it in place. That should do it, I thought. The next morning, I walked into my office, and my blood ran cold. The car was no longer on the shelf. I scanned the room, my eyes darting everywhere. And then I saw it. It was on the floor, in the very center of the room, sitting perfectly straight, as if someone had placed it there. The tiny piece of blue tack was still stuck to the shelf where the car used to be. That's when the real fear kicked in. This wasn't just some weird vibration or a sloped shelf. Something was happening. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every creak of the old house made me jump. I kept picturing that little red car moving on its own in the dark. The next day, I decided I needed to get to the bottom of this. I went back to the flea market, hoping to find the old man who sold me the car. I needed to know where it came from. After searching for what felt like hours, I finally found his stall. It was a kind-looking man with a weathered face and kind eyes. I showed him a picture of the car on my phone. He recognized it immediately. A shadow passed over his face. He told me the car had belonged to a little boy who lived down the street many years ago. The boy's name was Leo. Leo loved that little red car more than anything in the world. He took it everywhere. He slept with it under his pillow. It was his constant companion. Then the old man's voice dropped to a whisper. He told me that one tragic afternoon, Leo had been playing in his front yard, racing his little red car along the curb. He chased it as it rolled into the street, and he didn't see the truck coming. Leo passed away in the accident. His parents were devastated. In their grief, they packed up all of his belongings, including the little red car, and gave them away. The box of toys ended up with the old man, who had been selling them off piece by piece over the years. The little red car was the last of Leo's toys. My heart sank. Suddenly, the strange movements made a chilling kind of sense. It wasn't a malicious spirit haunting the car. It was a child. It was Leo, still playing with his favorite toy. He wasn't trying to scare me. He was just doing what he always did. When I got home, I looked at the little red car, now sitting on my coffee table where I'd left it. It didn't seem scary anymore. It hust med sad. I picked it up. It felt cold in my hand. I whispered, "It's okay. Leo, you can play. You're safe here." From that day on, things changed. The car still moved. I'd find it in different rooms, on top of a book, or parked next to my shoe by the door. But it wasn't frightening anymore. It felt playful. Sometimes, when I was working late in my office, I'd hear a tiny, faint sound, like a small wheel rolling across the wooden floor in the hallway. Instead of being scared, I'd just smile and say, "Night, Leo." One evening I was watching a movie, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw the little red car roll off the end table, land perfectly on its wheels, on the rug, and continue rolling a few feet before stopping right by the fireplace. It was the most deliberate and clear movement I had ever seen. It was like Leo was showing me a trick. I laughed out loud. I've had the car for over a year now. Leo and I have a sort of understanding. He's my unseen, silent roommate. He doesn't break things or make a mess. He just plays. He moves his little car around the house, living out the childhood he never got to finish. Some people might think I'm crazy. They'd tell me to get rid of the car, to have the house cleansed. But how could I? Getting rid of the car would be like taking away Leo's only remaining connection to this world. It's his last toy. And in a strange way, he feels like he 1000, not just its owner. I'm its caretaker. I'm giving a little boy's spirit a safe place to play. So, if you ever come to my house and see a small red car parked in an unusual spot, don't be alarmed. It's just Leo. And he's just happy to be playing. It's a strange and bittersweet story. But it's my story. And it all started with a $1 toy from a dusty flea market stall. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many objects out there are carrying stories I never know. Thanks so much for listening to my story today. If you have any similar experiences, I'd love to read about them in the comments. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more strange tales. See you next time.